20 for 20% off your order. Stand with the rebels and never back down.
All right, ring-a-ding-ding. Okay, so here's what happened today on Wall Street and markets. Earlier, they're up a lot across the board. And then there was a bit of a sell-off midday, and it kind of languished for the rest of the afternoon. I'm not really sure what you call that. Kind of a quiet trading day. Markets tend to do that after they make big moves up. Remember, we had a nice long-term move up. Then there was that monster crash on a Thursday, and then a nice rally, 1,200 points this past Friday. Moved up a little yesterday, just taking a breather. Not sure what the next direction is going to be, but right now it feels higher. I'm just saying it feels higher. So Dow Jones up a little, S&P down a very little, NASDAQ down 130 or so. Not a huge day. Oil markets were relatively unchanged, 25 cents lower. Gold, 19 lower. Again, $5,060 for an ounce. We started a year ago at about 2700. It's a monster move up in gold. Silver holding its own, $80 still. This is the one that keeps getting me scratching my head. Every time crypto, Bitcoin, looks like it's going to break out, make a nice move up, it sells off. Every time it looks like it's going to crash, it doesn't have a home. It doesn't know where it's going. Looking for some real impetus going, looking for something to move the crypto market other than what I believe. Again, I told you this before. I believe when the gold and silver market crashed that one day. Remember, it was down $500, $600 in gold, and silver was down like $80. I believe a lot of those meme stock traders who made a lot of money running GameStop up and AMC up and Bitcoin up, they were in these other instruments. They lost so much money in gold and silver, they started selling crypto. I think that's what's holding it up. But if you own crypto, I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm not selling it because the next move up, there's not going to be a lot of sellers left, and all those buyers are going to have FOMO, fear of missing out, and they're going to jump in and buy the crypto market. That's where we are on Wall Street, and that's also where we are in America, folks. All right, folks, we got some huge news. Good friend of the network, good friend of this exact show. Old Glory Bank is expected to go public in a few months. That's right. Old Glory Bank expects to be listed on the NASDAQ. That's huge. This means that everyday Americans who love this country will be able to own stock in a bank that actually stands for our values, the freedom, the economy, the DeFi economy, traditional values. This is a win for all of us. Old Glory Bank offers everything you need, but more importantly, they're run by patriots who share our values. That matters. Go to oldglorybank.com/Rav, oldglorybank.com/Rav to learn more. One more time, oldglorybank.com/Rav. Great patriot bankers. Okay, folks, in the U.S., you need to show ID when you pick up your medicine. You need to show ID to open a bank account at Old Glory Bank. You need an ID to board an airplane. But by the way, you need ID to buy a pack of cigarettes or a beer. But Democrats don't want IDs for voting. Isn't that interesting? Well, Republican Congressman from South Carolina, Ralph Norman, joins us today to tell us how he is protecting the vote in specifically South Carolina and hopefully throughout the country. Welcome, Congressman. Tell us, sir, before we get into it, let's take a look at this. Hakeem Jeffries says Republicans have adopted voter suppression as an electoral strategy. Watch.
Republicans have adopted voter suppression as an electoral strategy. That's what the so-called SAVE Act is all about. And this version is worse than the last version. Because this version, as I understand it, would actually give DHS the power to get voting records from states across the country. The so-called SAVE Act, a version that's worse than the prior version, is going down. It's not going to pass. If it squeaks by the House, it's dead on arrival in the Senate. They're wasting time.
So Hakeem Jeffries says the SAVE Act isn't going to make it through the House and says it will be dead on arrival in the Senate. What do you say about that, Congressman? What are your thoughts?
It's wishful thinking. I mean, imagine to have safe elections. Imagine that he's objecting to photo IDs, to having the ballots come in that when you close of day voting. It's their plan has been to basically use mass immigration where illegals from every country all over this world to come into to America without any verification and to get on the voter rolls. And the Democrats, Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the House, wants to, of the Democrat Party, wants to basically have a voting base. And it's just not going to work. The American people are not standing for it. Trump is doing a tremendous job getting them out. And all this is doing is verifying the elections. We become like a Venezuela, a Cuba, a Russia with having fake elections where you have people who are able to cast a ballot and not show who they are. And you've got to be a citizen per the Constitution to be able to vote in America.
Congressman, tell us what. We have been rolling a soundbite from CNN from last week over and over again that shows about 87% of Americans, both left and right, agree that you should use an ID to vote. About 80% of Hispanics, maybe even 82% of Hispanics, left and right, not just Republicans, mind you, believe you should use an ID to vote. And about 75% of black voters believe the same thing. This seems like political suicide. What am I missing?
I don't think you're missing anything. I think they can say it as many times as they want, that this is Jim Crow 2.0, this is discrimination, this is black-white. It's not. It's a fairness issue. And for Hakeem Jeffries, I think he really believes, and his party believes, if they repeat it enough, the Americans will buy it, but not on this. We've gotten a front row seat to illegal elections. And we've seen it during the Biden administration. We've seen it. Their whole attempt, again, is to create a power base and not know who's voting for them and against them, and how unfair that is to all Americans, because you lose your democracy if you don't have a open, fair, and safe election process. We once had it, and they're doing what they can to destroy it, but we're bringing it back, and we're going to pass it in the House. Senate may take a little longer, but I think we, the people, will put the pressure on the senators, and they can have all the language that they want to say why not. But we're going to make this happen.
Wait, we have the
American
Senate.
People deserve it.
I don't understand. We have the Senate by what, 2 votes? Who would jump? And it would have to be 3, because we have the White House as well. The Vice President would break that tie. Who would be the 3 that would jump and decide as a Republican senator that you don't need an ID to vote? I can't imagine who they'd be.
Well, you've got a lot of senators not coming back. You've got a lot of senators who, for whatever reason, have got the Trump derangement syndrome and will oppose him no matter what it is. And they don't have to answer to the voters. And some of them are just dyed-in-the-wool leftist, Marxist, socialists that are doing this.
Rhinos.
But we'll see. They'll have to be accountable for it.
Couple of rhinos in that group, I assume.
More rhinos than I would like to admit, but yes.
They're endangered, but not quite so endangered quite yet. Today, there's a House committee hearing on the MEGA Act, which is Make Elections Great Again, how to restore trust and integrity in federal elections. The goal is to have voters show ID, to instill confidence in our elections, bring it back at least. When people have confidence in our elections, they'll actually come out to vote. I assume you would agree with that.
Agree 100%. And, every vote ought to count, and every vote ought to be fair, and every vote ought to be made by citizens of the United States of America. And that's what this bill does. I think our founders would roll over in their grave if they knew this was even a point of contention, but it is now. But I think what Brian Stile and others, Chip Roy, have done is really put forward legislation is going to get the job done, and it couldn't come quick enough. How
did we get to a point where there's so many different rules allowing you to vote? I mean, I'm old enough to remember you had to vote on election day, and unless you're in the military, that was all it was going to be. Or maybe you can petition for an absentee ballot, but it was hard to get. How did we get to, I'll send it in early, I'll send it in, I don't know, July. How did we get here?
We got here because each state allowed those who want to rig the system to get involved with our elections process. As an example of South Carolina, we had asked for a voter list, a verified voter list, to see who was on the rolls, particularly since the Biden administration put the 15 to 20 million illegals in the country, and you just couldn't get it. And we're going to change that. And that's happened all over the state. Look what's happened in Arizona, Pennsylvania, Atlanta. And so, it's happened by degrees. This all took place like osmosis, slow, but now it's gotten to the point that if we don't fix it now, then it will not be fixed.
Related question, sir. Not exactly the same topic, but there are those of us out here in MAGA world that believe there should be a new census. It should happen before 2030, and it should only count actual citizens of America rather than every human being in America, whether legal or illegal, because resources are divvied up that way to districts, to states and districts. Is there any chance in hell this is going to happen?
Yeah, I think it is, but it's kind of like, redistricting of those districts that have been gerrymandered for years. That ought to happen because that's, I think the citizens of the states would want that. We have one district in South Carolina that needs to be redrawn. But no, I think, verifying who's on the rolls and verifying that they're here and cleaning up the rolls. You have a lot of dead people that are cast ballots, and it's got to happen state by state. And it's going to have to take a change of leadership in the state. The governors are going to have to push it. And hopefully we'll start the process on that. Well, again, it just gets by slowly by degrees. But we're at the point now, particularly with what's happened on the board of making sure we get it fixed and get it right. Well,
I'll tell you, Ralph Norman is ranked as one of the top pro-Trump members of the House of Representatives, certainly top in the great state of South Carolina. Used to live there, very, very red state. Congratulations. And this really isn't just about Trump. This is about our election integrity, whether it's a Trump on the ballot or not. I want to say thank you so much, Congressman Ralph Norman from South Carolina. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thank you a lot, Eric.
All right, sir. Okay, folks, there's a quiet shift happening, and most people haven't even noticed it. See that? The Edge. We just crossed 10,600 subscribers, 5 months in. That's all organic. Not a single thing that's not organic about those subscribers. Nearly 2/3 views, 26,000 watch hours, and YouTube now ranks The Edge in the top 1% of all new YouTube channels. Here's what matters. Individual Edge episodes, see that right there. Individual Edge episodes are now drawing more viewers than cable news shows on Newsmax and News Nation. True story. And we're doing it without politics. It's about performance, discipline, health, pressure, real conversations from top men in sports, finance, television, and elite health and longevity. No slogans, no outrage, just men preparing to perform better, live longer, and think clearer in a harder world. Now, if you want noise, look elsewhere. Go to Newsmax. Boring. Horrible. If you want an edge, you already know where to find it. Right there. Hit that QR code with your phone. Press it, you'll come up, you'll yellow thing, press it, you'll subscribe. We really, really want you to subscribe. More than half of you watch who aren't subscribers. Let's get everyone on the rolls. I appreciate you watching Real America's Voice. It's where you should be. Appreciate you watching us at 4 o'clock on Bowling, and I really appreciate if you hit subscribe on Eric Bowling on YouTube with The Edge. Do it, be part of that group. We'll be back in 2.5 minutes.
From powerhouse vocalist Natasha Owens, known for standout singles like Trump One and Somali Waltz, comes her brand new release, The Boss, released on Real America's Music. This is the direct response to Bruce Springsteen's recent release, The Streets of Minneapolis. While Springsteen once branded himself as a voice of the working class, The Boss gives a voice to everyday Americans and reminds listeners who truly shapes the future. The Real America's Voice audience has the power to move charts and shake the industry. Download it right now. Scan the QR code or search The Boss on iTunes. Push it up the charts. Make them notice. At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens. to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now.
Hi, this is Chris from Wisconsin, and I love Real America's Voice because we have great news and a great chat family. God bless all of you.
It's Mama Love in northern Minnesota. You know, a collective voice is much louder than a single voice. Thanks, Rav, for giving us a place to chat and connect. See y'all in chat.
So what's unfolding right now with Iran is not a regional crisis, not the Middle East. It's a global power play with China at its core as Washington confronts Tehran's nuclear ambitions. Our next guests say the real target is the Chinese Communist Party's expanding alliance network with Iran and Russia as key pillars. Is America dangerously distracted from the CCP's growing influence in the U.S.? Well, here to discuss is senior investigative reporter for the Epoch Times and host of the Crossroads podcast, Joshua Phillip, and senior reporter for Epoch Times and expert on China, Nan Su. Thank you both for joining us. Unfolding right now in Iran, not regional crisis, global power play at core. Josh, I want to talk to you about this because I've done this for quite a while. And when you see China palling around with Iran, China needs oil, Iran's got a lot of oil, and then you put maybe even Russia in the middle of this. This becomes the axis of evil, a new axis of evil, is it?
That is the case. This is 100% the new axis of evil. I'll say a couple things. First of all, the Chinese Communist Party had a war plan still on the table, actually, for the United States. One of the main advisors to Xi Jinping, a guy named Qin Kan Rong, his war plan for the CCP was to drag the United States into 4 wars. They wanted us to go to war with Russia. This was before the Russia-Ukraine invasion. They wanted us to go to a war with a terrorist organization. This was before October 7th in Israel. They wanted us to go to war with Brazil and Latin America. This is during Lula's first term. This was before Lula, again, back in power in Brazil, working with Maduro in Venezuela, now in New York, before they were actually putting their military on the border, preparing to invade Guyana. It's possible with the capture of Maduro, we avoided what would have been a large-scale war unfolding in Latin America. And so Trump's pressure right now on, Iran, of course, is probably taking out the second big pillar of the big thing the CCP wanted before they would invade Taiwan. Again, Iran is deeply tied in with the CCP's plans. The other thing I'll mention very briefly, Iran, we interpret it as a religious issue. It's about, Islam and stuff like that. It's not just Islam. It's really about a power play between, again, powers. If it was just about religion, why don't they criticize the Chinese Communist Party for enslaving, torturing, and using Muslims for, slave labor for most of the garment industry? They don't question that. This is merely about political power and political games, and Iran is a key part of this whole system.
Mm-hmm. Divide and conquer, as they say, Joshua, as we know. Nan, with Trump setting his sights on Iran, is China just sitting back going, exactly what we had hoped for?
No, of course, China is totally scared by the Trump's administration's effort to going after Iran. If you look at, following Joshua's basically all the describe of the whole background, if you look at the map, China, Russia, and Iran, they are forming axis now between these 3 countries on the south, on the west-south side of Russia, on the west side of China. There are 5 Central Asian countries that I call them stand countries, like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan. Those stand countries, they are, from China, basically, and the east, going all the way up to the east border of Iran. So, and then Iran is really the west side front of this evil axis, and then to the west side of the Iran, that will be the Iraq, and then further to the west, that will be that will be going towards to Israel, and in between that's Jordan, right, and Lebanon. So you can see, China is really trying to, after they form this new global power, this Eurasian continent power, against the United States. Now the West Front is Middle East, and it's really the Iran, and then China and Russia are using Iran to penetrate and influence the whole Middle East, trying to put influence to like Saudi, and also threaten Israel. So all these things are, coming together as a big picture. You can really see the power play.
So, Josh, let me throw this out here. Knowing what we know, we've been watching this. We watch this unfold daily. And in fact, some people were speculating that there may have been an attack over the weekend. Everyone's distracted with the Super Bowl. Didn't happen. It brings me back, Joshua, to 2021, when Biden had the horrific withdrawal from Afghanistan, but left Bagram. Bagram was in a perfect position to kind of keep its eyes on a bunch of things right there. Was that a major foreign policy failure?
That was. I'll actually note one thing, actually two things that are not widely known. Right before Biden pulled the United States out of Afghanistan, abandoned Bagram Airport, gave the Taliban the equipment for its entire military. We left them with the military equipment of an entire military, what would be equate for that region. What happened right before the Taliban rolled into Bagram Airport, right before they carried out their massacres, right before all that? Well, the Chinese Communist Party had meetings in China with the leadership of the Taliban, literally right before that happened. What else happened? Right before the October 7th attacks on Israel, who met with the CCP, the leaders of the Palestinian Authority, right before it all happened. And so what you're watching on the surface oftentimes are kind of, I call them puppet shows. You know what I mean? You see things moving, but nobody talks about the gears turning behind the scenes. The CCP is kind of one of the main movers of these strategies within the region. But absolutely, I mean, that was a massive failure, an insult to American troops. And just an insult for the men who bled and died.
And not only that, yes, absolutely true. But the strategic value of that. I mean, some would say Greenland has a lot of strategic value. I would say Bagram. There are so many places you can reach from Bagram. Nansu, China's ultimate goal is what, sir?
Well, China's ultimate goal is to take down the United States. Chinese military started this so-called unrestricted warfare in the mid-90s. It's so far, we Americans, as American consumers in the last 30 years enjoying the cheap product from China, but most of the Americans did not realize that the Chinese government communist regime has been in war against us, against the United States as the #1 target in the Western world for 30 years. The war has been taken in different forms, like economic warfare, financial warfare, educational and cultural warfare. Think about Confucius' statue, and technological warfare and industrial warfare. We in the past 20 years or so, we actually deindustrialized America and industrialized China and make China become the #1 threat to peace and humanity of the globe in the entire human history. Now, it's true. I mean, and if you just think about it, in the human history, I bet you cannot find any other regime actually will pose threat, more threat than the Chinese communist regime today.
Well, I mean, some would say Russia during the Cold War. But Joshua, before we go, final question. There's some rumblings that the CCP has been heavily financing a lot of the unrest here in America, a lot of the protesters, a lot of the, we'll call them the rioters that in Minneapolis and in various other places in the United States. Is any truth to that?
There is, yes. A lot of that goes through various NGOs and different organizations. Some of it ties, of course, to Neville Singh. Tied in, of course, with the funding. He's currently being investigated. He's avoiding the congressional request to testify. What I'll also point to is the Chinese Progressive Association. There was a big story swept under the rug. There was a Chinese Communist Party front organization tied in with the Little Red Guards, established, of course, during the Cold War, big organization. Even back during the BLM riots, their funding website, if you wanted to donate, was redirecting to the Chinese Progressive Association. New York Times ran cover for it, claimed it was a different organization not connected to the Chinese Communist Party's Little Red Guard. That was a false or misleading report because it's tied in with the same network. It's like claiming that Costco in New York is different from Costco in California, a different branch of the same organization. So yes, the CCP is involved in these things. Funding is tied in with it. Different individuals tied in with that network. Training organizations, even going through Latin America, even with Antifa, in fact, tied in with the CCP, which desperately need to be investigated by the United States.
I'm telling you, folks, look for the label, Made in America. We'll solve at least some of these issues. I'm going to say thank you to Joshua Phillip, Epoch Times senior investigative reporter, and Nan Sue, Epoch Times senior reporter. Thank you, guys. We'll get you back again. These are fascinating discussions.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. All right, folks, we'll be back 2.5 minutes.
Freedom to speak your mind. Freedom to protest policies you don't like. Freedom to start a business. Freedom to own property. Freedom to vote. Freedom to flourish. It's easy to take these things for granted, but for many people around the world, freedom is merely a dream, and those who fight for it risk losing everything. Their reputations, their livelihoods, even their lives. Scan the QR code now or visit atlasnetwork.org/rev today to help freedom become a reality for people fighting back against authoritarianism. With your gift of just $19 a month, we'll send you an exclusive Atlas Network hat. Plus, we'll send the print edition of our Freedom's Champion magazine to your door. Atlas Network was founded to help pro-freedom organizations around the world develop, implement, and defend policies that foster freedom against tyranny. Visit atlasnetwork.org/rev or scan the QR code now to help us make freedom a reality for millions of people around the world. Donate $19 a month to receive your exclusive hat. Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with this Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Most people know the biblical story of David, the shepherd boy who fought Goliath and became king. Well, Angel Studios has created a new animated film called David that tells the story of Israel's greatest king.
Followed when I'm looking for the way, when I'm searching for the answer, in the moments I'm afraid. There's a whisper in the wind, and a story in the sky, when I'm looking for a lantern to illuminate the night. If you want the secret of freedom and feeling alive, you gotta follow the light. Follow the light.
For those who love great animated classics like The Lion King and Prince of Egypt, David is an awe-inspiring animated musical that depicts David as a spirited boy who fought lions, giants, and even betrayal, depicting how one boy's faith could lead him to be king of Israel. David will be released in theaters just in time for Christmas on December 19th, but your family can get a head start by watching the prequel to the film, Young David, which is streaming exclusively right now.
They want to end ICE, period. The end goal of all the Democrats right now, what they're doing right now, the ultimate goal on the part of the Democrat Party is to eliminate ICE altogether.
Do I think that what ICE is right now makes sense for anyone, whether they are, here with legal status, not here with any status, or a U.S. citizen? I don't. I think that we need to scrap it, and we need to come up with something that actually meets not only the moment, but meets the definition of what they are supposed to be doing.
What they're supposed to be doing, according to Jasmine Crockett and all of her illegal loving comrades, is turning the other cheek to the existence of millions upon millions of illegals who have invaded this country. ICE has been far too effective under Tom Homan, under Kristi Noem. They've been far too effective at removing these invaders, and it's their worst nightmare on the Democrat side. They won't rest until there's no more ICE. They want Kristi Noem removed, Tom Homan removed, ICE removed or hurt physically. And they clearly will stop at nothing to make that happen. What's your biggest gripe right now concerning the country right now? What is it that keeps you up at night, you and I? I'll bet it's your mortgage, your bills. Can I take my family out to dinner? Can I afford that new iPhone? Well, guess what? Republicans are actually working to solve those problems, as Republican Congressman French Hill pointed out at a hearing earlier today.
That's why Republicans in this committee continue to introduce legislation that address this challenge head on. We have direct solutions to improve the cost of living for all Americans. Throughout the 119th Congress, we've unveiled legislative proposals that work to reinvigorate our banking system, expand access to credit, and remove unnecessary regulatory burdens.
Republicans solving problems. Democrats do nothing but incite violence and hate. If you're in California, you're looking at rampant homelessness, the effects of a long-running drug epidemic, sky-high energy bills. If you live in parts of California that were ravaged by those catastrophic wildfires just over a year ago, you're probably wondering why it's taking so long to rebuild. Maybe that's because your governor is too busy obsessing over the Trump administration, President Trump himself, and by the way, in the meantime, setting himself up for a presidential run.
I think Trump is one of the most destructive presidents and human beings in my lifetime. I think this republic is at real risk, this country being unrecognizable. And I have no patience for people that want to indulge it. I can't stand the crony capitalism. I can't stand all these supplicants that are sitting there bending the knee to this president. I can't stand the universities that have done that, the law firms that have done that, the individual corporate leaders that have done that, the other governors, maybe Democrats and Republicans that have been complicit at this moment. This guy is reckless. He's wrecked this country. We'll not have a fair and free election if we don't continue to fight.
Jesus, Gavin, worry about your own state first, huh? Clean that place up. By the way, if you're in New York City right now, after snow and a long stretch of frigid cold, you're battling mountains of garbage and walls of dirty, filthy snow and ice left behind by an inept socialist mayor too busy trying to figure out how to raise taxes enough to actually clean his own streets.
Okay, how would you grade Mayor Mamdani's handling of New York's snowstorm last month? Well, you were in the area.
Yeah, I'd give him a C.
A C. A C for communism, perhaps. Utter failure already. Democrats don't solve problems. They're not interested in the issues and solving those issues with effective policy. They're just not interested in doing that. Right now, they're interested in two things. Power, always power and control, always, and taking down President Trump. That's it. What's linked to both of those? Votes. And they really need the illegal ones, too. That's it, in a nutshell. And Homan, Noem, ICE, they stand in the way. It's really, really that simple. Step one, eliminate those things, get them out of the way. Step two, make it easy for illegals to vote in our elections. Don't kid yourself. If they have power and control, they will make it legal for an illegal to vote. They're trying to do it right now. At a Homeland Security Committee hearing today, that was pretty clear right from the get-go.
I hope my Republican colleagues will remember that our job is to conduct oversight, not cover for Donald Trump and his out-of-control administration. Secretary Noem, Department of Homeland Security, has the blood of American citizens on its hand, but she takes no responsibility for anything. To the contrary, Secretary Noem was last seen in this committee room hiding behind her family in a desperate attempt to distract from her department's failures and abuses. Secretary Noem is a liar with no concern for the lives of Americans killed by the department she runs. She must go.
Oh, they want ICE gone. They want Noem gone. They want Homan gone. They want CBP head, Todd Lyons, gone. They just want the deportations to go away. It's plain and simple. And these hearings today are all about slandering all of those folks and inciting more violence against them too, by the way. Dog whistles to people. It's okay to injure ICE agents. I do enjoy, though, these hearings for watching some Democrat snowflakes get embarrassed in an open forum. Chinese spy lover Eric Swalwell, always asking for it, ain't he?
Mr. Lyons, will you resign from ICE?
No, sir, I won't.
Why not?
Because, sir, that child that you're showing right there, the men and women of ICE took care of him when his father abandoned him and ran from law enforcement.
A ridiculous display of leftist antics today. And this lie being perpetuated by the left that there's some database of citizens protecting against ICE, dispelled under oath immediately.
Are you surveilling U.S. citizens today?
No, sir.
Those people practicing this First Amendment right, photos of them, data taken, they're not being placed in any kind of a database?
There is no database for protesters, sir.
One of your officers in Maine said to one of the individuals protesting, we're going to put your face in a little database. What does that mean? Do you have a little database of Americans?
No, sir, we don't.
Then what do you think your ICE agent was doing to this individual when he said those statements?
I can't speak for that individual, sir, but I can assure you there is no database that's tracking United States citizens.
Sir?
It's a clown show. Hey, I heard one guy in Maine say something. Must be true. Lawful, constitutional, above board, those antics won't work. And just a reminder here, what's happening right now with deportations in America didn't happen by accident. It also didn't happen overnight. What's happening is a result of millions upon millions of Americans finally saying enough is enough. Enough using the one tool we do have to keep our society free, our vote. For years, the rules have stopped meaning anything for these people. Our borders have been treated like suggestions, and laws were only enforced when convenient on the left or when it served a distinct agenda. Americans have felt ignored, talked down to, and told their concerns, our concerns, made us bad people or racist or bigoted or all of the above. So when Election Day came, the folks, we spoke clearly. Standing in the way of that enforcement isn't protecting democracy. It's telling voters that their voices don't matter at all once the outcome is inconvenient for them. You don't just get to override millions of people just because you don't like the results of the vote. What part of that don't these people understand on the left? If votes don't lead to action, then the voting itself means nothing. Democracy dies. When that happens, what we lose isn't just a policy debate. We lose the idea that people still govern ourselves. And the republic, it's a republic, a democratic republic. We vote our policymakers. We do it. They don't, we do. As we know it, it dies. ICE is carrying out that action. Department of Homeland Security carrying out that action. That's how this works. And if Democrats don't like that way a constitutional republic works, then they can get on the next plane, sending these invaders back to where they came from. Enjoy the ride, folks. Enjoy the ride, Democrats. 2.5 minutes. We'll be right back.
Freedom to speak your mind. Freedom to protest policies you don't like. Freedom to start a business. Freedom to own property. Freedom to vote. Freedom to flourish. It's easy to take these things for granted, but for many people around the world, freedom is merely a dream, and those who fight for it risk losing everything. Their reputations, their livelihoods, even their lives. Scan the QR code now or visit atlasnetwork.org/rev today to help freedom become a reality for people fighting back against authoritarianism. With your gift of just $19 a month, we'll send you an exclusive Atlas Network hat. Plus, we'll send the print edition of our Freedom's Champion magazine to your door. Atlas Network was founded to help pro-freedom organizations around the world develop, implement, and defend policies that foster freedom against tyranny. Visit atlasnetwork.org/rev or scan the QR code now to help us make freedom a reality for millions of people around the world. Donate $19 a month to receive your exclusive hat. Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with this Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Most people know the biblical story of David, the shepherd boy who fought Goliath and became king. Well, Angel Studios has created a new animated film called David that tells the story of Israel's greatest king.
There's a light I've always followed when I'm looking for the way, when I'm searching for the answer. In the moments I'm afraid, there's a whisper in the wind and a story in the sky. When I'm looking for a lantern to illuminate the night. If you want the secret of freedom and feeling alive, you gotta follow the light. Follow the light.
For those who love great animated classics like The Lion King and Prince of Egypt, David is an awe-inspiring animated musical that depicts David as a spirited boy who fought lions, giants, and even betrayal, depicting how one boy's faith could lead him to be king of Israel. David will be released in theaters just in time for Christmas on December 19th, but your family can get a head start by watching the prequel to the film, Young David, which is streaming exclusively right
Watching this show, many of us remember the embarrassing moment for Jasmine Crockett among her many embarrassing moments when she wrongfully accused Lee Zeldin of taking money from Jeffrey Epstein because it turned out to be a completely different Lee Zeldin. Well, Jasmine Crockett was asked about her acknowledging her blunder and flat out admits that the truth doesn't really interest her.
But when I see the moment on the House where you seem to accuse Republican Lee Zeldin of taking money from Jeffrey Epstein, but it seemed like if it was not the same person, I wonder, is there times in which the rhetoric goes too far? Are there times in which you should say, maybe I messed that one up?
No, not in this environment. I don't. I think that, we are really in uncharted territory.
So I hear your argument that you're reflecting the urgency necessary, and so that's why you won't give an inch.
Correct.
She says, nah, I don't care, I lied about that. And he goes, oh, I hear your argument. And he condones it. These leftists are journalists. Oh, you thought it was bad enough that Jasmine Crockett not only admits to lying, but also shows no remorse for it. Wait until you hear the delusions of grandeur right here. It's no surprise that Jasmine Crockett actually thinks she's a viable candidate for Senate from Texas, given how highly she thinks of herself.
I've always been someone who has been intellectual. I was top 10% of my class at Texas Southern my first year in law school. I was always very much kind of digging in and wanted to understand. I was always the person that would bring the receipts and wouldn't back down. You're
always clapping back too?
there was always a pushback. If I feel like I am right on something, I've always been very clear about that.
We can only hope she's the Democrat nominee. Just put someone up good and do away with her. Do away with her. This one gets you. Ana Navarro. Okay, let me explain Ana Navarro. Ana Navarro claims to be a Republican. Or did, or kind of like Joe Scarborough says he's a Republican. Ana Navarro, you've seen her all over the place, a well-paid political commentator, is one of the many media lefties who loves to push every single nasty Democrat's slanderous trope, including race baiting, a clear favorite of hers, and the usual lying and propaganda on behalf of the Trump derangement syndrome machine. Here, Ana combines both of those talents when talking about how tough life has been for Latinos in America.
And there were so many people texting me yesterday on my timeline who told me they were weeping. And I can't overstate what it means to the Latino community that has seen itself persecuted, attacked, racially profiled. We have seen for the last year our children dragged through the streets. We have seen our pregnant women, our elderly dragged through the streets, disappeared and detained. To have Bad Bunny use that platform to say, do not otherize us.
82%, according to CNN network you're on, 82% of Hispanics believe you should have an ID to vote. I don't know what you're talking about, lady. I have no idea what you're talking about. Turn in your Republican card. If you thought the left learned something about obsessing over the trans agenda and grooming children, think again. These people are truly sick and deranged. The left's obsession with the trans agenda clearly alive and well and kicking. And you just know that if Democrats should get back into the majority, it will become front and center for them. They still believe in the mutilation of children. And in the case of Democrat Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, they actually are finding a way to justify it.
But we rarely talk about the why. People want to know what drives us, especially in a world with social media where everyone's looking for the next authentic thing. For me, that's my faith. Most of the decisions I make are based on that golden rule that says we love our neighbor as ourselves. Yeah. And that parable of the Good Samaritan that says everyone is our neighbor. Yeah. And so when I've taken actions like vetoing the nastiest piece of anti-LGBTQ legislation that ever came through my state, I described it in those terms. I said my faith teaches me that all children are children of God. Yeah. And I didn't want people picking on those kids.
Yeah. Yeah, except I don't think the Bible actually condones what you're saying, Governor Beshear. Remember when Democrats lied and said that there was voter suppression in Georgia? Turns out there was none. Turned out to be yet another big fat Democrat lie. Well, now they're lying about how ICE will stop Latinos from voting. It's just so glaringly obvious that they're petrified of stopping illegals from voting for them.
Where could there be some effort that suddenly gives him an excuse to try to take some of these federalization efforts? We've seen ICE. We focused a lot of this activity on ICE in terms of their going rogue in Minneapolis. But there is a very real threat without reforms at ICE that you could have ICE patrols around polling stations. And people would say, well, why would that matter if you're all American citizens?
Yeah,
well,
non-citizens cannot vote.
Because we've seen ICE discriminate against Latinos families. We've seen as well mixed families where someone may be legal and others not. And candidly, you don't need to do a lot to discourage people from voting.
Wow. They really, really want illegals to vote, don't they? Because if you put ICE agents, officers at the polling places, there's going to be no illegals that show up. They're not going to. Wow. President Trump said to be excluding Democrat governors from a meeting that's usually bipartisan. And of course, Maryland Governor Wes Moore makes it all about race.
From your perspective, why are you being excluded from this dinner?
Well, I've long learned that I'm not trying to get inside over the president's psyche. It's not a good use of my time. It's not lost to me that I'm the only black governor in this country. And I find that to be, particularly painful, considering the fact that the president is trying to exclude me.
Okay, so if it's about your race, Wes, well, what about the white Democrat governors that he's not inviting? Speaking of Democrat governors who shouldn't be in the position of power, let's just go ahead and file this little one. Gavin Newsom tells the press under things that never happened.
This is a chill. This is chilling. This is serious. I walked into a restaurant the other day. The entire staff came out, started hugging me and crying. The hell is that? The United States of America. What he's doing to our diverse communities, what he's doing to the fabric of our society.
Anyone else I want to call BS on that actually happening? I do. I call BS on that. By the way, was it French Laundry during the pandemic when you shut the whole state down, but you went to a $400 plate dinner? Or when you sent your kids to private school, when you shut down the public schools? Gov. I think we pretty much expected the Team USA athletes at this year's Winter Olympics in Italy to be, coaxed into expressing some anti-American sentiment on foreign soil. We watched as American tennis players were asked to comment on what's going on here during the Australian Open. Remember that? Well, here's the tough thing. Given the prestige that comes with representing your country, I never expected these athletes to take the bait.
I'm really hoping to show up and represent my own values of inclusivity, values of diversity and kindness.
It's definitely a tough time in our country right now, and I think I just continue to represent my values, which is compassion and respect and love for others.
Yeah, it's been a hard time for the community overall under this administration. It isn't the first time that we've had to come together as a community and try and fight for our human rights. And now, especially, it's not just affecting the queer community, but many other communities.
It brings up mixed emotions to represent the U.S. right now, I think. It's a little hard. There's obviously a lot going on that I'm not the biggest fan of, and I think a lot of people aren't. If it aligns with my...
How about shut up and ski? Really? And by the way, reporters asking about ice in... Ice! I love ice! I love ice! We can ski on ice, idiots. All right, one more. Meanwhile, here's an athlete who shows pure pride and joy to be representing this country at the Olympics.
How does it feel to represent your country like this?
It feels amazing. I love representing the U.S. I freaking love living there. I love it, and I'm so happy I get to represent USA! Yay!
That was a great one. That was a great moment, folks. All right. Most shows chase attention. The Edge. We earned it. 10,600 subscribers in less than 5 months, all organic, 650,000 views, 26,000 watch hours. That puts The Edge in the top 1% of all new YouTube channels. And here's the part that should make people pause. Our episodes are now outdrawing cable news shows on Newsmax and News Nation. Not by yelling, not by politics, but by focusing on what actually really matters to men right now. How to perform under pressure, how to protect your health, how to stay sharp as the world accelerates around us. Conversations with leaders from pro sports, Wall Street, television, and cutting-edge health. This isn't content for everyone. It's for men who expect more from ourselves. The Edge. Watch it, measure it, decide for yourself. Please do me a favor. Just hit that subscribe right there with your phone, with your camera. Subscribe there or go to YouTube and say youtube.com/@Eric Bolling The Edge, or just go to the search Eric Bolling and The Edge. Search us. Hit the Edge logo right there. Join this movement. We appreciate you here at RAV. I appreciate you here at Bowling at 4 o'clock. And I really, really hope you join that movement over at The Edge on YouTube. Thank you. We'll be back 2.5 minutes.
Freedom to speak your mind. Freedom to protest policies you don't like. Freedom to start a business. Freedom to own property. Freedom to vote. Freedom to flourish. It's easy to take these things for granted, but for many people around the world, freedom is merely a dream, and those who fight for it risk losing everything. Their reputations, their livelihoods, even their lives. Scan the QR code now or visit atlasnetwork.org/RAV today to help freedom become a reality for people fighting back against authoritarianism. With your gift of just $19 a month, we'll send you an exclusive Atlas Network hat. Plus, we'll send the print edition of our Freedom's Champion magazine to your door. Atlas Network was founded to help pro-freedom organizations around the world develop, implement, and defend policies that foster freedom against tyranny. Visit atlasnetwork.org/RAV or scan the QR code now to help us make freedom a reality for millions of people around the world. Donate $19 a month to receive your exclusive hat. Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with this Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Most people know the biblical story of David, the shepherd boy who fought Goliath and became king. Well, Angel Studios has created a new animated film called David that tells the story of Israel's greatest king.
Followed when I'm looking for the way, when I'm searching for the answer. In the moments I'm afraid, there's a whisper in the wind and a story in the sky. When I'm looking for a lantern to illuminate the night. If you want the secret of freedom and feeling alive, you gotta follow the light. Follow the light.
For those who love great animated classics like The Lion King and Prince of Egypt, David is an awe-inspiring animated musical that depicts David as a spirited boy who fought lions, giants, and even betrayal, depicting how one boy's faith could lead him to be king of Israel. David will be released in theaters just in time for Christmas on December 19th, but your family can get a head start by watching the prequel to the film, Young David, which is streaming exclusively right now.
All right, we have a good amount of time now, Ben, right? We got some time. There's a control room. Folks, there they are. 888-601-0032. Just love your voicemails. We love the segment as well. Benny, let's see what we got here. This may be a couple of days old because we've been running around quite a bit, but let's play. Let's see what we got.
Yeah, we have a viewer who has a comment about ID and cigarettes.
Hey, Bolling, it's Mark from New Jersey. Hey, listen, I spent 6 months off in Pennsylvania. I got to show a friggin' driver's license to buy a pack of smokes. And another thing, I'm glad you explained yourself. I thought you got lumped up a little bit, buddy. Have a good day.
Yeah. See, that was a couple of days old. Yeah, it was that little thing that the dermatologist cut off, ended up like bleeding, and like, you know, my face looked like I did go a few rounds with Mike Tyson and lost miserably. But yeah, we're on the mend. Still a little puffy, but we're on the mend. But thank you, and you're right. Let's just stay with this thing. Voter ID is a very, very, very important thing. There is just no justification for not needing to use an ID to vote when you got to use an ID for just about everything right now. Benny.
We have one that I'm not really sure of. It's
okay.
The viewer wants to rename the U.S.
I'll tell you what my message is. Whoever decided to call it the United States of America must have had too much to drink, because that could be no further from the truth. There's no United States. You can tell that now by all the rioting and the anti-government rhetoric. What should be done? These sanctuary states should be expelled from what is called America. They should be on their own. They're a separate entity. This way, Trump can defund them. Don't have to pay them any money. They're on their own. Give them what they want, because that's what they want, and that's what should happen. They should rename the United States of America the 50 States of America, because there damn sure ain't nothing united about any of them.
No, you make a sad but good point, my friend. It really is kind of sad to see the way we've bifurcated. There are states that are clearly conservative, and there are states that are clearly lunatic liberals. And I don't know, is there a way back? I'm not sure there's a way back. And I think, you know, that's why elections mean so much. That's why voter ID means so much, because you elect people who represent your values. So, you know, who's ever holding the power, who's holding the policy, will defund the states. Again, Trump is trying to defund sanctuary states, sanctuary municipalities. You have activist judges, and this is why it matters in other levels of voting as well. The Senate confirms judges. You want to make sure that judges and your president and your senators and congressmen are voting your feelings, and that's why these elections really matter. I don't know if there's a middle ground. I'm not really sure. You know, it's sad and depressing. The 50 states of America. Yeah, maybe. Let's hold out hope. Let's hope we're still united. Benny.
We have a viewer who thinks we should leave NATO.
Hi, Eric. This is Dave in Placerville, California. I'm calling in reference to the Greenland, Danish, Canadian, and the whole NATO thing. So I look at it like this: if Canada don't want to work with us, Greenland don't want to work with us, then, you know, United States need to just say, you know what, well, F y'all, we're going to pull out of NATO, and you guys protect yourself. We're not going to put out any money to protect you or support you anymore. And, you know, and just America first from there on, you know, and the hell with them. And we'll have to make our own borders, our own security borders to protect us from Russia and China being in Greenland and all that. And you know what? And let NATO make their own decision if they want China and Russia to be all intermixed with them. You know, and whatever. All right. Please help California. Thank you.
Yeah, they threw that one in right at the end. I don't know if it's still savable. I don't know. We have a couple conservatives who are trying to be the next governor of California. You know, the polling looks good, but that always kind of fails in the end. Get out of NATO, agree. Get out of World Health Organization. Get out of all these globalist groups that just want to suck us dry for our money, for our protection. We are blessed by having a friendly neighbor to the north, friendly neighbor to the south, and our east and west are water borders. We can defend ourselves. America first means America first. We defend ourselves. You're 100% right, sir. Get out of these things, because all they're doing is they're just using our money for their own protection. So they really feel it. Knock yourself out, protect. And then you want to take Greenland? Take Greenland. Or cut it. I disagree with taking Greenland. I think we buy Greenland. I think we bribe those people to vote to become part of, you know, a territory of the United States or the 50 states. One more, Benny.
Yes, sir. We have a viewer who has questions about food stamps and real food.
Yeah, my name's John. I called before. Why don't the government just hand out food supplements like cheese and meat and everything that's nutritional instead of giving people stamps let them pick it up or have it at distribution center. That way they can control maybe not giving so many cookies out. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Stan, I think it was right. So you're hitting on something very important, something I've been talking about for a very, very long time. When RFK became head of HHS, I've called him. I've even emailed him. Here's the deal. It's not even food stamps anymore. It's a card, the EBT card. They can use it for whatever they want, basically whatever they want right now. And I suggested pull sugary, sweet, and salty drinks and chips and things out of your ability to buy that. You buy produce, you buy meat, you buy bread, you buy milk, but no Pepsi, no Coca-Cola, no Doritos. I really, really think we should push towards that. It's a great idea. It gains steam, and then the big food lobbies come in and they kind of squash it. So I'm working on it. I agree with you 100%. Maha should start right there. Maha should start right there, sir. You're on it. I'm going to follow up on it again. Appreciate your time. Love your voicemails.